Well, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever the case may be in this bright, wonderful world we live in. It is very late aloha hour. Um, it's just been one of them days, I guess. Lots of things going on, and not a lot of work getting done. So I've been sitting here listening to some Mozart for the past couple hours, trying to get this page drawn so that I can work. Um, so here I am live. Let me turn this down. All right. Aloha. Hello, Chilipine. I keep Clash of Kings comics on my coffee table, heavy metal and juxtaposed. Right on, right on. Hi. Hey, Dennis. Hey, Aaron. Kaz. You're late. You're a machine. Well, my wife has already fallen asleep. So, Kaz, for Canadian $2. Mike, thanks for being a night owl like me. Thank you for your super chat. And yeah, boy, it was. Did you guys catch? I mean, I don't know how many of you did, but did you catch the Night's Watch tonight? That was so much fun. I was really disappointed in how few people were actually here watching it live. Um, there was probably only 30 people at the peak, which honestly it was a little bit embarrassing because Quinn has like I think 90,000 subs on his channel, and he comes over here to do a live show, and like 30 of you show up. Yeah, glad you watched it in replay. We're going to do it next week. I'm going to try to get it on a little earlier because I guess I don't think we did it last week, but I guess Ethan usually does something on Friday nights around the same time. So I'm probably going to plan it for a couple hours earlier so we don't have that kind of overlap. Because yeah, I mean, if you got Quinn and then Gray Area was supposed to be here too, but I guess I had it on too late for her as well because she fell asleep. So yeah, I'll definitely try to do it a little earlier next time for those two reasons. And because she also has like 80 or 90,000 subs as well. So just those two people, if we can get them on here regularly, I don't know, maybe it would be wise to see if they want to like alternate channels, and we could do the Night's Watch like on Quinn's channel one week, and then my channel one week, and then Gray's channel one week. At least that way, we could get some more intermingling of the fan bases going on. I mean, obviously, they have far bigger fan bases than I do, and they're unique fan bases to this space. I'd like to bring some new, fresh meat into this area. Your intro to Game of Thrones to Got Mike is very cool. Thank you, Dennis. My son did that. So, well, I mean, he did all the editing. It was pretty much my idea, the design, or the whatever you want to call it. So yeah. So Aaron, was it Aaron? Someone? Eric? Elric Huga said, not a fan of Game of Thrones. Understood. I will not hold it against you. Sean, I didn't think you was going to stream tonight. Gotta have my Aloha hour. Well, I haven't heard from Edwin like for hours and hours, so I'm not 100% sure what's going on. Today, I wasn't like checking the rest of YouTube to see if he was streaming on any. Does anyone know if he was streaming anywhere else? Because he was not responding on Twitter. But sometimes people have these things called lives where they don't just sit around waiting for someone to tweet them all day. Edwin is in general a busy dude, so hopefully he had something more important to do, something more fun, more, I don't know. This is pretty fun. Aloha Hour is pretty fun. Pretty fun. You never get the notification for that stream. Do you have your bell rung? Have you rung that bell? Actually, guys, why don't you go ahead and like this chat while you're here. Actually, I don't know how I can do it from here. Let's see if I turn this sideways, if it gives me that option. I'm going to like it. Boom. Because when I like it, I don't know if everyone has theirs set up this way, but when I like a video, there's only 5 likes. There's 44 of you watching, 50 of you watching. Come on now. You can do it. I believe in you. I believe in you. You can hit that like button. Looks like this. It's right there on your screen. Yeah, it gets algorithms going. What it does for me is it posts to Twitter that I liked the video. And so if it's live right now, then people can get that information that I'm alive and online. Brett for $2. Thoughts on CERN or Goddard Base Tunnel Ceremony? CERN as in the faster than light. What are they trying to do? Like split particles and crap like that. You know, a friend of mine is really concerned about that. There's some sort of interdimensional freaky stuff, he says, is going on there. But I don't know. I haven't paid that much attention to it. So I can't really comment. YouTube is oppressing us. Black holes. This is how you get doom. Satanic pagan rituals. Yeah, that's something like that. I never looked into it myself, so I can't really speak to it, and I can't really look it up right now to have a educated conversation about the matter. I should look into it. Okay, I'll look into it. Certain type thing in the Bay Area before the big one. I thought there was a thing we could see from space here in Northern Cali. So now everyone in the chat's going to be talking about CERN. Okay, I can't play along. I mean, I can't comment. I know nothing. I know next to nothing. I don't absolutely know nothing. But so if you guys are just want to chat on your own, then enjoy looking at the top of my head, not saying anything. Waiting for Smugless live stream to come back. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm starting this a little too late for the rest of Comics Gate. It is 12 a.m. here, 3 a.m. East Coast. Sup, my people. Our side might be getting a little bit too sensitive. People calling out Mitch Gerards because he liked a stupid tweet. I don't know who that is. Mitch Gerards. You know nothing, Mike Miller. I know next to nothing on CERN. Edwin Bossett. Good night. Oh, aloha. Good night, Tank Ferret. Art. Randolph. What the heck was that? Hold on a second. Okay. Oh. Somebody asked because today is September 29th, and I was supposed to deliver Lone Star by September because I thought I could actually draw this book while I was campaigning. Silly me. So he asked when he should expect the books, and I told him, well, I'm 3 pages away from finishing, so it should be soon. He's all, okay. Okay. What a late aloha. Yes, I do apologize for the lateness of this aloha. Mitch Gerads is a DC pro who is friends with the Brightwisers and was openly praising Red Rooster last summer. He liked a political tweet, but he's 100% nice to fans. Okay. Supposedly Ethan said he will re-edit footage and re-upload. Oh, was somebody saying something about my Game of Thrones stuff? You also need to up your game on your GOT videos. You're getting good, but you need a better mic, or at least not use the webcam mic. You may want to consider to put some background music as well. Yeah, you know what? I'm still not in a position to be throwing money around at upgrading everything. I mean, I tried to upgrade that. I tried to upgrade my internet. Actually, it doesn't look bad right now. I guess I could point the camera at my art, but I don't. It's not really a spoiler page per se. But yeah, I mean, you know, I still have to pay for printing. I still have to pay for. I just paid for the dog tags, and so I'm waiting for those to come in. I got to pay for packaging supplies. I got to pay for postage. I got to pay for my letterer and my colorist. There's still a lot I got to pay for with the money that I have left. So yeah, I do want to up my game on all of this stuff, but it's not my first priority. I just want to make sure I can fulfill this thing on the money that I've got, and survive long enough to get to the end of the next Indiegogo. You know, I started with my foot in a hole, and I might be out of the hole now, but that doesn't mean I have enough money to like throw around. So yeah, I appreciate the criticism, though. I mean, I do want to get better at this. I do want to make it a better experience for you guys. It's just, you know, I got to deal with reality. That old friend reality, always kicking me in the teeth. How long do you think signing and packing will take? I don't know. I think I think the signing shouldn't take horrifically long. What I'll probably do is figure out how many of the books need to be signed. Sign those, set them aside, you know, for packing, or oh, that's another thing I got to buy, bags and boards. So sign them, bag them, or have my kids bag them, have some of the kids bag them and board them, and then set them aside so that, you know, categorically we know these are all signed cover A, these are signed cover B, these are signed cover C, these are unsigned, blah, blah, blah. Marsupial Gamer for $2. Sorry I can't do more, but hang in there, Mike. No, I appreciate it. I'm in a comfortable position. I'm not scared. I'm not scared anymore. I'm just trying to make sure that I can get from A to B. You know, B is still months away. Well, I guess that would be like F. So I have to get from A to B to C to D. Although I do have New York Comic Con coming up next weekend, so that should be an influx of money as long as it doesn't freaking suck. So many cons this year have sucked. But hopefully that will be a decent show. Just being responsible. That's me. Just being responsible, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's not fun and exciting to be responsible, but I've got 5 kids to take care of and a wife and 2 mortgages, and now I have a bloody car payment. Supposedly you can use a media mail if you have book ISBN somewhere. But that would ruin these and make them weird in a way collectors wouldn't want. It wouldn't, actually. If I mail it properly, I can use media mail, but I can't use media mail because of the dog tags. Media mail has to be ISBN book only or paper product only, no advertisement, no additional trinkets or whatever. So yeah, I'm gonna have to send these first class, which is gonna cost additional thousands of dollars. So yeah. I didn't think about the dog tags because I wasn't thinking about media mail at the time. I'm hoping that couldn't you save money by selling digital instead? Digital was an option, Chris. So yeah, the digital's the cheapest option. It's still there. Still there if you wanted it. Apparently you haven't seen it. It's at LoneStarComic.com. Please do go check it out. And please, you guys still do have time to grab that Lone Star for the Troops option so that we can get more and more to the troops. We are well over 2,000 copies going to the troops now. So as long as someone from the USO can freaking get back to me before I send shipping information to the printers, they haven't gotten back to me yet. That's frustrating. It's like, hi, I want to donate large sums of stuff for the troops that they would really, really enjoy. Can you get back to me? Crickets. So maybe I'll have to find someone else who can bug them for me, because it's like, man, put it on the list. There's so many other things I got to deal with, and now the USO isn't getting back to me. That's flipping frustrating. Dope. 3 pages left. Yeah, I'm on page 46. Just got to ink this, and then 2 pages left, and then it's going to be good. Good. Aloha, where's the snack bar? Now random people show up all the time, and I just figure, it must be good talent to be on EVS's show. Must be a good talent to be on EVS's show. Anybody want to pop in here? I could just pop the link into the chat if you guys want to do that. Now I have to wait 15 seconds to hear an answer. That way we can just have a conversation. Instead of me reading this, I can draw and talk. And I'll assign one of you to read the chat. How many metal prints do you have to ship? I haven't even done the math. Tennis, nah. In these for the troops going to bases in the US or overseas, the idea would be overseas. I'd rather the book take a little longer and be high quality than rushed at lower quality. Oh yeah, definitely. 2 boxes, Marines in Iraq, Marines in Afghanistan. I'd pop in, but I'm playing the new Spider-Man currently. Do you think producing 2 books at once will lower profitability? I hope not, but I think even if it did by a reasonable margin, I think it would be better for the customers. And ultimately, I want to please the customers so that the customers will keep coming back, right? The customer at Blacklist Universe is always right. So yeah, I do definitely. Yeah, so I understand your question, and I have wondered about it myself. But I think it's still worth the risk to try to get you guys stuff so that, man, if you can get 2 or 3 books, 2 or 3 different books with pretty much the same shipping cost, right? I mean, that has been one of the biggest complaints is the cost of shipping. And I understand, man, paying $20 for a book and then paying $8 for shipping, it's like, dude, that's $28 for 1 book. But if you could get, like, if you're buying like 2 covers of one, one cover of the other, and then one of the trade paperbacks, you can get 3 different stories, all for like one shipping price. Man, it really mitigates that cost. No shipping. Oh my gosh, you know. Yeah, no shipping. That would be a dream come true. Somewhere down the line, if we find some way to streamline stuff and lower other prices and stuff, I'd love to do that. Curious, but right now we're gonna try to deal with reality. If you can use media mail in the future, what's the shipping fee then? I don't know, man. Let me get through this one. Let me get through this one. See if I'm gonna take it in the shorts by using first class. Because media mail is, I believe, a couple bucks cheaper per unit. So, I mean, that's when you're talking about sending out 2,000 books. That's and I lowered mine. Everyone was saying, you know, do $10, do $10, do $10, and I lowered mine to $8 for domestic shipping because I was figuring, you know what, you know, maybe even if I have to eat it a little bit, you know, as long as it's cheaper for the fans, and I can still turn a profit, you know, that's what I was going for by dropping it to $8 for you guys in the States. Zach said media mail was $2.24 per book. Zach lives in Texas. The post office ships stuff out by zones. Zach is in the middle of the country, so he's going out to these different zones. I'm gonna have zones that are the maximum number of zones across the country. So, because I'm in San Diego, and somebody in Maine wants my book, that's like max zone. Yeah, I mean, if I could somehow ship everything out of like Kansas City or someplace from Texas, yeah, I'm sure that would cut down a lot on my shipping costs. But we'll see. We'll see. I do want to. I probably, well, yeah, I don't have to offer. I don't have to offer dog tags next time, so that should be cheaper. I should be able to get some stuff from media mail next time. Yes, Inkwell, I am all by myself today. No one wants to come play with me. So I'm just sitting here drawing and reading chats. Drawing. Kansas City, represent. My niece and I guess now my nephew, since they're married, live in Kansas City. So it would be fun to get out there. I've always wanted to try to get to Planet Comic-Con, but for one reason or another, it's always coincided with some other show I was doing or something. And yeah, gosh, I really do. I love her. She's great. She just lost her dog this week too. It's too bad. But I would like to see her and her little baby. She's so cute. Kansas City would be 300% cheaper. You mean for shipping or to live? Go to Kansas City. Kansas City, here I come. We're going to Kansas City. Kansas City, here I come. Stop that. It's the best. All by myself. Don't want to be all by myself. All by myself. Don't want to be all. Actually, I do. Because it's quiet. I don't mind having somebody on the stream to talk to, but yeah, the kids have been in here all night making so much noise. I had Mozart like cranked up on my little speaker here so I was just trying to get into a chill zone, and it's like all this noise, and it was like, oh, John Diller Gaming System, you don't need nobody. You're an island. Dude, San Jose and surrounding areas are most expensive in the USA. Yeah, I know, Chile. I grew up there. I grew up in San Jose, and when I moved to San Diego, I was like, wow, it's so cheap here. But now I've acclimated to how freaking expensive it is here, even though it is still more expensive in San Jose. All by myself, don't wanna be. When did San Diego become crazy expensive? Well, I mean, it's crazy expensive compared to like the rest of the country. But yeah, if you compare it to San Jose, it's still reasonable because that's how ridiculous San Jose is. So do some tunes as premium on next project. Tunes as premium? You mean me singing? You guys didn't get enough singing from Ethan's karaoke stream? I feel so dehydrated for some reason. Do some trivia. Entertain us. Entertain you. How about this? I'm going to play Bible Answer Man. You guys ask me any Bible question, whether it is antagonistic or just curious or whatever, and I will do my best to answer it. How does that sound? And the question before, I am on page 46. I'm almost done penciling the last panel, and then I'm going to start thinking this up. What happened with the salt wife thingy? Oh, you mean Lot's wife and the pillar of salt? I've often wondered that myself. The only thing I can think of is that salt per se might not be either an accurate word. Okay, either it's completely miraculously. Oh, this one's easy. Comic book dog. A cubit is the measurement from your elbow to your fingertip on an average person. It's roughly 18 inches. As for the salt thing, I have thought about this because I'm like, what does that mean? What is it, turning into a pillar of salt? Well, if you consider the way Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed, I mean, wiped out, like wiped off the face of the planet, it would take an event that would equal something like a nuclear freaking blast, right? That level of energy expended in a single blast. And if you go to Hiroshima, Nagasaki, people were turned into shadows, right? I mean, there were explosions, just their shadow was left on the wall. If there was something along those lines, it's not a shadow, but, burned away into ashes, or as they say, they're saying salt. I don't know if it's like literally salt. I don't have I only have speculative answers for this question because I don't know myself. I've often thought about it to try to figure out what exactly it meant, but that's about as best as I can do on that one. Otherwise, it would have just simply been some miraculous thing that is inexplicable through science or circumstance. What else we got? Sierra Whiskey. My 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment in San Diego is $2,100, not including utilities. Nuked them with asteroids. It's entirely possible. It's entirely possible that it was nuked with asteroids. I mean, honestly, yeah. A couple asteroids would do it. Can angels read our minds, our hearts? Yes, but our thoughts. No, angels cannot read our hearts, our minds, or our thoughts. Angels are not omnipotent. They are not, as far as I know, telepathic or telekinetic, or telepathic. Only God has access to our innermost thoughts and desires. Like Satan as an angel, he knows our desires in the sense that we're all human and we all roughly have the same desires. And even if we don't, it kind of becomes obvious just from observation what our desires are. So Satan is a very, very, very smart fellow. Don't ever take for granted that he's some sort of adult, because yeah, no. I mean, come on, he was like one of the top dogs in heaven. So Tim Lim is traumatizing the entire comics geek community with his takes on Bozet. Bozet, no bueno. Okay, yeah, I'm not. I don't know. Crystallized human. $2,000 per month for 300 square feet with a silver sliver of beach in Santa Cruz. Santa Cruz? You mean Santa Cruz, right? Yeah, $2,100 a month. My mortgage here now is, although I have like an 1,800 square foot house, but it's a fixer upper. My mortgage in San Diego is like about 2,800. Yeah, so whee! And that's cheap. That's cheap for this area. If you were trying to rent in this area, I think a mortgage would be around like 3,000, 3,500 for this square footage. So, yes, sir, Bob. All right, hit me. What else you got? Bob, question me. My Bible question's not interesting. Totally dehydrated to sodium chloride? I don't know. I mean, is that scientifically possible? I have no idea. Why would God do that? That wasn't why God. Why would God wipe out Sodom and Gomorrah, or why would God turn Lot's wife into a pillar of salt? The first question is sin. It had gotten so bad that here's the thing. If you're in a society where you're teaching you're teaching your children to be evil people, right? And how are they going to know any better? They're being taught to be evil people, and therefore those children will become adults at some point, which means they become accountable for their actions, but their actions are taught to them as, objectively evil behaviors. What is the merciful thing for a loving God to do? If these people are going to continue to raise generation after generation of children in such a way as they will never enter eternal paradise because their evil will have gotten so ridiculous that there's essentially no way out for them. Is it more merciful to continue to allow that to happen and to allow countless children to grow up into adults who grow up and die and are eternally damned? Or is it more merciful to nip that in the bud with a nuke or an asteroid or whatever it was, the power of angels? God is patient, but at some point that patience is going to cost the souls of more and more people. And God's ideal would be for everyone to come to heaven. right? And if you're creating a situation where you're training people up to believe in absolute evil behaviors as a norm, then those people, they're eternally screwed. And that's, how would you, if you were a loving God, how would you deal with that? Huh. Yeah, nuked it from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Yeah, I mean, you know what? There's some hard truths. I don't envy God his job. It's like Bruce Almighty, right? All right, what else we got? So I had a theory. There were people already in the world when Adam and Eve left Eden, because while they were in Eden, evolution happened to the rest of the universe. Thoughts? Nope. Sorry, I can't believe in evolution on a just a mathematical scale. It's impossible for evolution to have occurred. If you've ever read, there's a book called The Natural Sciences Know Nothing of Evolution. It's by a doctor named A.E. Wilder-Smith, PhD. And he goes through the necessary compositions to create non-life out of life. I mean, create life out of non-life, which is the necessity, what it necessitates to create an amino acid, which is the first essential building block of life on Earth. There are these molecules that through electrical charge or whatever are split off into what are called left hand and right hand molecules. Just call them black and white, right? And so in order to create a single amino acid, all right, there's two kinds of amino acids. There's a non-reproducible amino acid, which are these molecules just linking together, right? In order to have a reproducible amino acid, which is the necessary first building block of life. These first chain amino acids, which are non-reproducible, they are linked in the tens of thousands of links long, right? In order to have a reproducible amino acid, what is required is for two of these completely randomized links of left and right-handed molecules to be 100% identical in length and in pattern, and to find each other and to merge. That begets a reproducible amino acid. The chances, just the chances of that first building block of life happening by random circumstance are so remote as to be mathematically ludicrous. So yeah, if you're going to use the argument that, you know, God guided evolution, God guided that first amino acid, God did all this stuff to go against the law of entropy and create more and more and more complex amino acids and oh my gosh, the difference between an amino acid and a cell, that in and of itself is like so much added information that it's beyond ridiculous to believe that you can get from inorganic matter to a living cell ever. And no scientist has a valid theory because it's mathematically impossible. And so that's why I disbelieved evolution. Right, Professor Geek? Are you on there? Can you hear me? Hello. I hear you now.
Hey.
Hey.
How's it going?
All right. How about you?
Good, good. You looked a little lonely in there.
I'm lonely, so lonely. You're hearing
Hard at
my
work?
dissertation on evolution.
Oh yeah, I caught a little bit of that. Yeah, before I was logging in.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
I'm
Some.
impressed by how many people are still here, just with just you sort of drawing and chatting. It's a good testament to your fame.
Oh, thank you. J. Patrick Pote asks, impossible or just highly improbable? Mathematically, they use the term, I believe they use the term ludicrous. The improbability is so high that it is ludicrous to believe it's possible. So I'm not a big fan of believing in ludicrous things. How about you, Geek?
I'm an English professor, and you're talking science. Yeah, I don't. I have no concept of all of that, amino acid stuff and everything you're saying there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, pick up the book. It was funny because I was on a stream with Doug Tenaple, and I'm like, have you read A.E. Wilder Smith's The Natural Sciences Know Nothing of Evolution? He's like, yeah. I'm like, dang, dude, I've never met anyone who's read that book.
He's extremely well read. He
Yes,
cracked me up.
it was like, find a book Doug hasn't read night.
Yeah, I was impressed when he talked about his G.K. Chesterton club. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
wow,
I remember
that's
that.
really something. I
I still have yet to read any of that.
Yeah. It's good stuff. I grew up as a evangelical, and I'm now a Catholic, so it's kind of got a little bit of knowledge around that whole thing. But I was shocked. I was like, wow, somebody else who really reaches out into some different areas like that. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So why the move to Catholicism?
It's interesting. Well, first for a while I don't know, I guess you might even say agnostic, just sort of
That's how I grew up.
yeah, yeah, I mean just like, believing but not really knowing much about it. But I think my studies looking at archetypes, just culture and tradition and all that eventually just brought it around, and that's where I ended up. So, but all Christians, so it's all good.
Right.
How's Lone Star coming?
Page 46.
Awesome, excellent.
Yeah,
I'm really excited about this one.
I'm gonna start inking.
Wow, that's great.
I might have to go wash my hands before I do that.
Don't wash your hands.
Sorry, I'm not Doug. So you're an English professor. Curious, have you read? I don't want to turn this into a Catholic bashing thing, but I'm just curious if you have read Fox's Book of Martyrs.
Oh yeah. I used to beat the anti-Catholic path with that one. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that is a grim book.
I don't think there's anybody, especially today, that can stand up and say that the Catholic Church is a paragon of virtue and has always been in the light and always done the right thing, in terms of its members and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So what made you move into Catholicism? I mean,
it was a number of
about it, that's fine.
Oh no, it was a number of things. For me, the Bible, like growing up, was always just central to me. I mean, I knew that thing backwards and forwards, and I went to Bible college. Even I was going to go into ministry. I mean, I was just all for it. But I started to eventually come up with some not discrepancies in the Bible itself, but the discrepancies between the way I viewed the Bible and life, and sort of as the way my concept of morality was developing in reality, because I came from a very literalist interpretation, which is fine, nothing wrong. People think that, but it just started to disconnect in some places with me. So once that belief in a literal whole authority of the scripture was gone, then that kind of shambled everything. But eventually, with the Catholic Church, you've got a basis on scripture, but then they also look at tradition. They also look at the institution of the church, and not just the sola scriptura. So Yeah, just kind of work with. Plus, my scholarship was all about archetypes. I tell the joke. It's kind of funny. These archetypes show up in different cultures and across time, and you've always got these very these tricksters like characters, these frontiersmen like characters, these pure paragons of virtue like characters in different cultures. And I got to thinking, wow, that even sort of correlates to some of the saints, the way the Catholic Church through different saints, and Saint Jude, the disciple Jude, Apostle Jude, Thaddeus, he's sometimes called in Scripture. He there's a story about him, and it's an extra biblical story, so who knows if it's true, but this is just the legend of him, that Jesus was about to heal. Somebody came to Jesus saying that his master had leprosy or something like that. And the idea was that Jesus pressed his face into a cloth and the image of Jesus's face was there. And he told Jude to go take that image to the man's master and it would heal him or whatever. So the picture you often see of Jude is him holding the image of Christ on his chest and walking out. And St. Jude is the patron saint of hope, of hopeless cases, of, causes that there seems like there's never going to be an answer for. He's the patron saint of that. And I was really fascinated with them, and I was becoming more and more interested. And I thought, oh my gosh, my patron saint is Superman. He wears a symbol on his chest, and he stands for hope. So, and then there are other little stories too I've talked about. And then there's a Saint Benedict as a as a priest who was really big into being the monk and the monastic life, but these younger priests and monks came to him and really wanted him to be their abbot, wanted him to come in and teach them and kind of head over their monastery. And he said, nope, I'll be way too strict for you. You'll hate me for it. And they said, no, we really want you to. So he did. And eventually, of course, they were incredibly upset because of how strict he was and everything. And at one point, they even tried to poison him. He's sitting there in a chair and they bring him his cup. And this is the story. And as soon as he reaches for the cup shatters, because God wouldn't let him be poisoned or whatever. And I read that story and other things I know about Saint Benedict. I just heard in my head, because I'm Saint Benedict, it's because I'm Batman. That kind of thing. It's just funny when you have certain, you have these certain character types that just keep kind of working their way into different story systems and everything.
Let me grab this super chat. John Dillard, gaming the system for $2. I agree with Mike. Doug does ruin live chats. Did I say that? I don't think I said that. I said he sucks up a lot of the oxygen, but
oh, you mean talking too much?
Yeah, I mean, but that's because Doug is very assertive in chats, so it's like that's up to you if you want to sit back and not say anything. But sometimes it's easier just to be in smaller groups. So
yeah, it is interesting, those Comicsgate live shows. It's fun watching them, but then when they have so many people involved, I think even poor Ethan was getting frustrated the other night when everybody kept talking over him and everything.
Yeah, it's just it gets to be a bit much. I think 5 or 6 people is probably as many as I feel comfortable with generally speaking.
Yeah.
Because even when I'm hosting it myself and I have more people than that, I feel bad for the people who aren't good at speaking up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I know I'm not a good enough host. Like Ethan will call people out and say, well, what do you think? What do you think? And it's like I always forget to do that.
Oh. Yeah. Everyone has their gifts.
Yeah.
But you've been a great presence on the show. I've always enjoyed your presence from the very beginning. I remember when he was first introducing you.
Yeah.
It's kind of just so neat to see this community of Comicsgate come together, because you have all these different personalities that kind of grow in their own little sort of fame, but they're accessible. You can go on their Twitter or on their channel and chat, and they talk right back to you. So they're not this great divide between them, and it really makes you feel like part of a community, just as a reader or somebody that supports stuff. Yeah.
So Dynamo says Art and Donald need to talk more. Art is like a kind of old grandpa. See, like that's what I'm talking about. Art loves to talk, but he's not assertive, right? So if he comes on me with like 2 or 3 people, comes on my show with like 2 or 3 people, Art will talk all night long.
Oh, nice.
But when you're on with more assertive a group of more assertive people, it's like he just kind of fades into the background, and then he like just, you know, it's like his head pops up once in a while, and he has something to say, and it's like, yeah, I like it. I like hearing from Art, but
Yeah, Ethan's pretty good at that.
yeah,
Working everybody in like
yeah,
that.
yes.
Let me ask you, do you it might be a religious issue for you, but do you celebrate Halloween at all?
Yeah. Well, not
Okay.
celebrate it. We dress up.
Yeah, I didn't know. I grew up in a denomination or that was very much against it. You know, that was of the devil or whatever. So,
Yeah,
but
it doesn't have the most wonderful of roots, but I mean, now it's just kids dressing up. You know.
yeah, yeah. Well, I never did get around to having you on my channel, so I need to do that. And during the month
Yeah,
of
what's up,
October,
man?
yeah, I know I've been bad about that. Well, you know, my schedule gets so busy with classes and then trying to do these other little extracurricular things I'm doing. But for the month of October, I'm doing a Halloween celebration. So each week, I'm doing a different archetype of monster. And you know, I know Lone Star is all about the vampires and stuff like that. So I really would love to have you on my channel and talk about Lone Star. You know, as much as you want to say specifically, but just as you know, because it does deal with vampires, or is it zombies? I forgot which one.
Vampires.
Vampires, yeah, cool. So so yeah, so that's a perfect opportunity for you to pop on over and do a live stream with you, just interviewing you about that and your thoughts on the mythos of vampires and stuff like that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, boy, sounds fun.
I think Ethan's going to come on my channel that one week and talk about Psycho, his obsession with the Psycho movies.
That's right, Ethan.
Yeah,
You got that whole what do you call it?
the movie
Chapter.
poster. Yeah,
I can't even think of it. It's just right there. I can't even. Man, words escape my head so often. It's shelf. Jeez Louise. Like, dude, I don't know what a shelf is. Yeah, it's got the whole shelf of Psycho stuff.
yeah. You know, and I've never seen Psycho #2. I've never seen part 2. I was such a Hitchcock fan that I saw, you know, the original, of course, multiple times. And I think probably in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm not going to lower myself to watch a Hitchcockless sequel, you know.
Yeah.
But I do want to see it because I know he talks a lot of it. So I have to do that.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Gosh, didn't that come out like in 1988? Something like that?
Part 2 in '88, because I know they made like a 3 and a 4 as well. So maybe one of those came out in
Yeah, but
'88.
wasn't it like a really long time before they did a sequel?
I think so. Yeah.
So I think it might. I don't know. Look it up real quick if you can.
Let me see. I'm actually kind of interested too in I think it's the Bates Motel series that was on.
Oh yeah, my daughter
Was
watched
it
that.
AMC? What or no?
It's on. Well, she liked it.
1983 was Psycho 2.
Oh, 83. Okay.
Yeah, and then couple more sequels came out eventually too. So.
Right. Yeah, I still have a handful of movie posters from 1989 when I worked in a movie theater.
Oh, I did too. Well, that's cool.
I might have the Batman poster.
Oh, really? Like the '89 one? Oh man, I'm so jealous. That was my first intro into comic books. That movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, there's a story about how that movie got made.
I've heard some stories. What story do you have in mind?
All right. So the guy, there was a guy working. I think he was working at DC. I've only heard this story once in an interview with him, so I may get some stuff wrong. So this guy, he just loved Batman, right? It was like 1970, roughly around there. And, you know, Batman 66 had been canceled, you know, the TV show. And he goes into the CEO's office, and he's like, and who he's like good friends with, right? He's like, I want to buy the Batman license. And the dude's like, you do not want to buy the Batman license.
Yeah.
He was like, nobody in Hollywood or merchandising or anywhere wants to touch this property because the show did so badly. Right? I mean, to us, we're like, you know, we grew up watching the reruns of that thing. It was like all kitschy and all that stuff. But when it came out, apparently it was such a freaking bomb that nobody anywhere wanted to touch this license.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy was like, I want to buy the Batman license. And so he got it, like, I think in freaking perpetuity for almost nothing. Right? But he wanted to do the Batman from the original comics. The dark, the brooding, the scary, you know, all that stuff that he grew up on before Batman 66 corrupted it.
Yeah.
And so he had this thing for nearly 20 years. Okay, so he must have got it in the 60s because he said he had it for 20 years before they had. And he would, you know, iteration after iteration trying to get somebody. And finally he hooks up with Tim, what's his face? The director, Tim Burton, right? And Tim Burton got it. He got it too. He's like, yeah, I remember Batman when he's dark and grim and broody. And so that's why that came to happen. Dude, after those three, I think three of those Batman movies, Batman had made DC Comics $10 billion.
That's crazy. Wow. Yeah.
This was back then.
Yeah.
And so it's all because that one dude who's like, I hate what you've done with Batman. I want to do the real Batman. And I don't know his name or anything. I just heard like an interview with him like on NPR or something.
Yeah, his name is Michael Uslan.
Is it?
Yeah, and he's got a lot of great stories. He's got a great TED Talk about that too. But
oh, really?
Yeah, he talks about it, and he's actually written a book on it. Actually, I took an online course that he co-taught with Stan Lee through one of those online course platforms or whatever. It was just basically sort of a light history of the comic book world or something. But yeah, you got the story perfectly there. Yeah, it was fun. He inspired me because he taught the first college course in America that dealt with superheroes. And that's what I do now is I teach courses, you know, based on superheroes. And he said that he was just I think it was a student when he taught it. It was like a graduate student kind of class thing. And he had to sell his teachers on the idea. He had to show that, you know, Superman was basically a Moses type story, and he really had to sell it. But once he did, the first thing he did was he went back home then and he called up a reporter and said, did you hear that they are doing a superhero class at this university? I am enraged. I can't believe that. And then that blew up the media, and then people were coming into his class and everything. So what a cool marketing strategy.
Yeah. That's pretty pimp. Yeah, I think I remember him mentioning that too. Gosh, I don't think it was the TED Talk I heard. I think it was just an interview. But yeah, I'm glad I got most of it right.
Yep. You know, it's interesting though. I did read one story he wrote for Batman. It was like a graphic trade, and he's a history professor guy. Like that was his major, a history guy. In his story about Batman, it was an interesting take. It was basically what if Bruce Wayne never became Batman? What if he just became a detective and he's part of this society? So basically Alfred interrupts him when he's brooding in his study thinking, how will I, you know, achieve my mission? You know, villains are a cowardly and superstitious lot. But Alfred comes and interrupts him right before the bat crashes through his window and tells him about this society of detectives or whatever. And a fun little story, but the actual storytelling of it isn't all that solid. Like it stops, the plot basically stops in a lot of places for him to give like historical lessons. And they're like watching a baseball game and Bruce and Alfred are talking about this. Yes. And also the 1929 team was the first team to blah, blah, blah. And they're like doing like history lessons to each other. And then Bruce says, okay, enough goofing off. We've got to get down to business now. And I'm like, this is horrible writing. So it's so funny that the people who fan out so much of it and know so much about it are sometimes not the greatest creators of it. So that's one thing that freaks me out, going from fan to creator.
It reminds me of the Da Vinci Code.
How so? The history of it, you mean it?
Well, the only interesting stuff in the Da Vinci Code. Have you read that book?
I didn't read the book. I saw the film.
Yeah, well, that was why I knew the film would be terrible, because the only interesting stuff was when he was talking about the history stuff. Oh man, it was, and it was so much of the book that honestly, I practically didn't even remember any of the action stuff that happened that they turned into the movie. You know, it was like, because it wasn't suspenseful or anything like that. It was just it was like a freaking novelization of a history lesson.
Yeah. Well, didn't he write that? He based there was a book that came out before that. I forgot the name of it. It was all about the history.
Blood. Something about the blood.
I don't know. I remember all the History Channel specials.
Yeah. Yeah, he basically ripped it off from that.
I remember the author was pretty upset about it.
Yeah. Anyone say anything? I don't want to. Sorry. Maybe I should let you man the chat.
Yeah. Well, I just tuned into it. Eric Huffles was saying that you were being ignored, Professor Geek. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm here, I'm watching. But yeah, Inkwell was talking about Batman the Animated Series. I agree. I love that. That was for me because see, I came into comic books in '89 with the Batman film, and I was actually struggling in reading as a child. I was like the 4th grade, I think, at that point, and the teachers were trying to catch me up and wanting to send me to summer school and all this stuff. And eventually I wanted to read a comic book. My parents were like, well, can he read? You know, is that okay for him? They said, yes, make him read anything that he wants, you know, and that just set off the, you know, years later, here I'm an English professor, but yeah, so those movies and then Batman the Animated Series, like Inko was talking about, came out very soon after. And that really did peg. That was like the iconic Batman in my head, you know, because it was so much like the comics.
Yeah.
Like that, was it Legends of the Dark Knight that Denny O'Neil started after the success of Batman?
Gosh, I don't remember.
It was like a whole new Batman title began just from
honestly,
the
when I was a
popularity.
kid, Batman was not my thing.
Really?
I was a Marvel guy.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Who was your Marvel guy? Who was your Marvel hero?
X-Men, man. X-Men, Daredevil, Thor, Alpha Flight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff from the early 80s.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was always more of a DC person. You know, of course, I got into Marvel Heroes much later, obviously, and those Masterworks titles are really great that you can buy now. The collections from the old Stan Lee and Jack Kirby days, like this collects the original issue 1s and everything, and those are that's a great way to break in. Some of them are pretty expensive though. I looked for the Captain or the Miss Marvel Masterworks, and like $100 just to get a hand on that. I got it digitally instead.
The IDW ones?
I don't think so. I think they're just called Marvel Masterworks. They're like these hardbound books, and they have like a dust cover that looks like sort of this rock design or whatever.
Huh.
But I don't know. They're fun.
But I don't know if I've seen any.
Comic Book Rob says, I want to see a Batman story where he does throw a single punch. The whole story is him using his mind. Doesn't throw a single punch. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing about Batman. I am tired. I mean, he's a great fighter, and that's awesome, but I'm much more interested in the gothic detective than the brooding ninja.
Yeah, I wrote a Batman story once that they rejected. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was Batman comes home like beaten and, you know, bleeding. Gosh, darn it! You know what? Let me try to find it on my computer. You keep talking.
Okay. Apparently Edwin's here. Edwin in the chat or something. I don't know. I missed that. People are talking about it.
Edwin's in the chat.
Speaking,
there he is, Edwin.
Speaking of brooding ninjas.
So Edwin, your thoughts on abortion?
I got one better for you, since we're talking about archetypes. You ready?
Yep.
And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God, which had delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he gave him tithes of all. So you've got this priest king, right? Mm-hmm. The priest king of Salem. So who was Melchizedek, Professor Geek?
Yep.
That's a great question, because you've got the people call it the Order of Melchizedek. It's a big thing in the Catholic Church, the idea that his priesthood predated when God established the priesthood, from the Mount Sinai there, with the commandments and everything. So it's fascinating. Like this is like the archetypal priest, like you're saying. I mean, yeah, that's an awesome subject. You have some speculations or an answer to it?
Well, not just a priest, but a priest king,
Mhm.
right? And then what does Paul say in one of his epistles?
That Christ is the priest and the king in the order of Melchizedek.
Yeah, forever.
Order of Melchizedek, yeah.
And Abraham saw his day and was glad. But interesting archetype there, because Paul references him. Well, it must be some 4,000 years later. Yeah.
hmm Yeah, I even heard one speculation that Melchizedek was a pre-incarnate incarnation, so to speak, of Christ. Like sometimes they'll say that the angel of the Lord in the Old Testament is a appearance of Christ or something like that. I heard one speculation about that.
Christophany.
Yeah, Christophany. Thank you. Words there. Words are hard.
Christophany's shelf I have a hard time with.
I feel so bad because I come home on Tuesdays and Thursdays after teaching all day, and I usually do a live stream, and my brain's fried at that point, and I'll be talking about basic names, and I just can't place it, and people are thinking, "This guy's a professor." What is it? The word is cat that you're looking for, or something like that.
Right. Okay, let me try to remember this. I want to get back to Melchizedek because I do have a theory as well.
Oh, cool.
So basically, it's this story. Batman walks in to the mansion.
Is there a rabbi? Is there a rabbi and a priest too? Sorry.
And he's just beat to crap. And he walks in and he sits down. And Alfred is like, "What the heck just happened? I never see this badly beaten and whatever." And he starts going into the story about how he had gone to this one location where he goes every year. He goes to this one spot every year to just as a memorial. And I'll understand. I'm trying to remember this whole thing. I wrote this years ago, and we never used it. So, he hears a scream, and he jumps down to the scream, and he goes to see, and he knocks a guy out of the way, and then he goes to help the young lady, and he gets like sprayed and maced, or not maced, but like knockout gas by the young lady because it was a setup to trap him. He wakes up, like handcuffed to a table, and there's this kid there, 18 years old, and so I'll try to make this short because I don't remember all the details, but the kid was there, and he's like beating the crap out of Batman, and Batman's sitting there just taking it, right? I mean, obviously he's tied up, he's handcuffed, whatever, but he's just sitting there taking it. And the kid is like, you discover that he's there. He was there because it was Batman's fault that this kid's dad got killed in the circumstance regarding this particular area. I don't remember all the specifics.
Okay.
And so Batman, out of guilt, is allowing this kid to take out all of this anger on him because he knows, obviously he didn't do it on purpose, but it's like one guy he couldn't save. And the kid was there that day. And so he knew who the kid was. He's actually the one who's been paying for his education and all that stuff, like secretly. And you get to the end of this thing, and the kid pulls this gun out, and then the kid's like pouring his guts out, beating him up, crying, all this just emotional turmoil, and he's about to put a gun to Batman's head, and Batman had picked the locks by this point, and like grabs the gun out of his hand, and then I don't remember if he aims it at the kid's head or not, but probably not. But then he's like, he hands the gun back to him, and he says, do what you got to do. just, you know, want you to know that I'm sorry. You know, I tried and I failed you and whatever. And so the kid's sitting there and his hand's shaking. He's got the gun to his head. And then you know, he can't do it. And so like Batman walks out and then flashback to the story of, you know, Alfred sitting there riveted, you know, like, what are you doing? You know, blah, blah, blah. You know, why would you put yourself in that situation? And Batman just like holds a hand out and like drops the bullets on the tray. Like he gave the kid the option. But,
gotcha.
yeah, he took the bullets out.
Nice. That's a nice standalone tale, like a good annual kind of story.
It would have been fun and emotional, right?
Yeah.
But they're like, well, we wouldn't want Batman getting snuck up on. I'm like, that's the point. He allowed it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
that.
Hold on a second. I just drew an issue of Injustice where you let Harley Quinn hit him from behind with a baseball bat.
I was going to say you just need an elderly Selena Kyle as a Mrs. Haversham character, and you've got great expectations. I think that's how I remember Great Expectations going down.
Selena Kyle is Mrs. Havisham. That's priceless. Maybe that's where Tom King's going with the No Wedding run.
Did you read the Batman where he announces his atheism or his lack of belief and that whole
Yeah, I did, and I actually did a video on it. I heard you guys talking about it. You guys are some of the ones that alerted me to it, and yeah, there's so much in Tom King's Batman runs that I don't think needs to be there. You know, just even from a that was really yeah, way to go. That was obviously on the nose, but no, just I think he pauses the story to really delve into some of these things that he just doesn't need to delve into. And I don't know if I really saw that run is Batman truly saying that he was an atheist. I think you could probably sort of squeeze in that maybe he was saying at this time in his life he was or whatever, but it was just this glorying in this past trauma that Tom King likes to do over and over and over again. And that's what he's doing now with Heroes in Crisis, and it's just getting so old.
Yeah. Yeah, you should call up Tom King with your story idea, because that sounds better than any of the nonsense he's been making.
Well, they've already rejected it, so. I also have this other tale I wanted to do for Injustice. Let me see if I can find that. Some of this stuff predates this current computer, so. Let me see. But yeah, as far as Melchizedek, have you read Eternity in Their Hearts?
I have not.
No.
It's a resource for like it goes all around the world. It seeks out all these different. Why can't I get a new stinking Finder file? Window. New Finder window. I find there it's finally. And so it goes through all these ancient folk religions, legends, and all of this stuff that you see all these correlations to biblical and in particular Jewish kind of like worship services, like things like the scapegoat, animal sacrifice, and it goes through all of these how. That's why it's called Eternity in Their Hearts, because if you go back far enough in a ton of cultures, I'm not going to say all cultures, but they knew and they sacrificed and they worshipped God according to essentially Jewish doctrine.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I mean, even the first the first dynasty of China. Right, it was Shang-Ti. It was the Shang Dynasty. They're named after Shang-Ti. Shang-Ti is the name for Shang-Ti means heavenly emperor. It's their name for God, for the one true God. And so they named their first dynasty after the one true God. And they had animal sacrifices. They had a temple, all this stuff. And it was a few generations into that that they were like, you know what? The people shouldn't be able to worship God. You guys worship us, and we'll worship God for you. So it became very religious.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then
That's fascinating.
Centuries after that, where the people were essentially not allowed to worship God, Confucius came on the scene and gave them this whole new philosophical outlook on life. And they have this empty hole in the heart that wanted spiritual truths and stuff, and he just filled them up with that. So,
But how many generations were there into the law until Moses was given the law?
Oh, jeez. You mean after?
From Adam to Moses.
Oh, I don't know.
It's like,
but you're counting from Noah to Moses.
Yeah.
I would have to look that up.
What I'm getting at is you've got a substantial portion of time where there's oral tradition, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where there's oral tradition, but there's no law, there's no explicitly written ritual or procedure. It is a very direct relationship with God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that Chesterton wrote about in The Everlasting Man, how that argument, using that Ecclesiastes verse, somebody put eternity in their hearts, and looking at the so many Christ types in different other mythologies, religions, or whatever, that even predated Christ, and saying that if this is truly something just in our soul, that we needed this and we were looking towards it. I mean, they even had, even in the known mythologies, and of course Osiris and all that in Egypt, but I was reading a little bit more in depth about Norse mythology, and that Odin sacrificed himself. He hung himself on a tree, sacrificing himself to himself for the benefit of mankind.
He must have been cursed then. And cursed is a man that hangs on a tree.
Oh yeah, I know, but that whole idea about one person in the Godhead sacrificing himself to the other or whatever for the benefit of man, that's just like, wow, that's so far removed from the Christian religion. They didn't even touch each other at that point. So it's fascinating to think about that stuff.
Okay, we're gonna gnip between this stories because I found my other one.
Oh,
John
cool.
Dillard giving the system for $2. Super chat. Mike needs to buy some sleeves. Ha. You don't like the gun show? All right. So sorry, I know, cheesy. So I wrote this to try to get a chapter into Injustice. So this takes place in the Injustice universe. Interior, a dark room lit by a single work lamp. A man sits at a table, looking at a photograph of his wife and son. He takes a Dremel tool and cuts a bullet in half, then drills a hollow into the shell, fills it with kryptonite, and glues it back together. He then presses the bullet into a shell casing and lines it up with 5 other rounds. He loads the 6th shell into a snub-nosed revolver and lays the gun on a pamphlet marked with an anti-Superman resistance logo. There's a cigar in the ashtray next to the pamphlet. Chicago, exterior, day. A group of ruffians close in on an old man, bearded and disheveled. They recognize him and accuse him of being one of his friends. The man falls on the ground and reaches for his gun. He pulls it out, and the crowd recedes when one of them shouts, "Look!" Another says, "Where?" "The sky!" Superman swoops down into the scene, grabbing one of the hoodlums, who feigns that he isn't afraid. Superman x-rays the kid and pulls a resistance flyer out of his coat pocket. He asks the boy how old he is, and the boy tells him he's 14. Superman's eyes glow red, and he warns the boy to tell the others that the resistance is futile, except maybe not in those words. Superman turns to the disheveled citizen who is still holding the gun aloft, aimed at Superman. Superman says that won't be necessary, but stops short when he recognizes Perry White, whom was assumed dead in the Metropolis bombing. Superman gives Perry a super hug and is giddy as a schoolboy who just found his lost puppy. Perry is overwhelmed. Superman offers to clean him up and get him fed. He does, after all, look like a bum. They fly off together, and the resistance gang comes out of the shadows like rats after the lights have gone out. Perry walks out of the bathroom in a luxury hotel room in a clean suit. He's thinner than he used to be, clean shaven. He looks good. Superman is standing at the window, looking out at the city. It's not quite Metropolis, but it's a good city to call home. Perry says that's a mistake, calling any city home. That was his mistake in Metropolis. It was inevitable that some monster would target the whole city to get to Superman. Flashback to the big battle between Superman and Doomsday when Superman died. A few big punches and the city was destroyed. Nice action shot and subsequent destruction shot. He should have learned that lesson then. The conversation switches gears. Superman wants to know how Perry survived. Perry says that he was at Star Labs getting chemo. Superman x-rays Perry's lungs. The cancer is back, and it's bad. He stopped going to Star Labs after Metropolis, after his family, after losing everything. He lost the will to live. He didn't even have a job anymore, or a place to live. He's just been waiting to die. Superman never would have believed the old Rhino would think like this, but he understands what it's like to lose everything. If he weren't who he was, if he hadn't turned his sorrow into rage, he might have felt the same way. Perry begs Superman to change it all, to get one of his buddies from the future to time travel into the past, to make it all go back to the way it was supposed to be. Superman says his Legion ring vanished, as if the Legion had never visited him. Perry says, or had never been formed. What Superman is doing, it's changed something. It's changed everything. Superman says, maybe in the new future, there's no need for a Legion. Perry is distraught. So there is nothing Superman can or will do to change the past. That means that the only thing they can do is change the future. Perry pulls his gun out and levels it at Superman's chest and fires. Superman catches the first bullet. Perry fires again. Superman catches the second in his other hand. He shakes his head unbelievingly at Perry. He, of all people, should know that. Superman collapses to his knees and looks at his open hands. Kryptonite flakes fall from the broken bullets in his palms. Perry steps closer and levels the gun at Superman's face. Superman pleads with his old and last friend. It's me. It's Clark. Perry says Clark is dead. Perry pulls the trigger. The hammer cocks back. A single tear falls from Superman's glowing red eye just before he fries his boss with heat vision. Superman holds his dead friend. Final image. Superman sitting on his throne, the last bit of his human life, now taken from him, and again by his own hand. His anger, his sense of injustice fueled, deeper into the abyss his soul sinks.
Dang. You know, Mike, honestly, I was a little skeptical about some of these artists who just pop on and make their comic books on Indiegogo and just suddenly they're writers too. And I'm thinking, well, we'll have to see. But man, I cannot wait to read Lone Star. You gotta write. You are a writer, sir. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank y'all. Yeah, I love writing. I do. So.
And they rejected that. They didn't take it, or did you never actually submit it?
They did not take it. Yeah, I don't know why. There was no reason. I mean, Perry White was dead in the lore, so it would have been a great little vignette, you know.
Yeah. And it doesn't alter anything because he dies again. So
that's right. Bagel Goose, $10. That was awesome, Mike. Thank you, Bagel Goose. Someone else, John Dillard, Gaming the System for $2. Get some sleeves or get some gains. Oh, so mean.
Gotta get them gains, son.
Yeah. Tippy Tail McKitty says, that's pretty dark. Must be DC.
Oh, it's so sad now that DC is the dark one.
Yeah. But yeah, I wish I could make public my you probably don't know. I was paid by Warner Brothers Games to write a pitch for Injustice 2.
I did. I caught that. I heard you saying that, but you can't. You signed an NDA or something.
Yeah, so I can't show it, and I freaking
That's a bummer.
kills me.
Well, if they rejected it, why would they care about you showing it to anybody? That's
I don't know, but they said the WB Legal said that I had to get an okay from WB Games, and they won't respond. So
that's a shame.
yeah.
So you said that you had a. Or sorry, Edwin, go ahead.
I was going to say, Professor Geek. Speaking of archetypes, did you get yourself the issue of what was that? What's the issue with the bat wing?
Oh, the Black Label.
Yeah.
You know what I said about it on my channel too is that the Batwings is the least offensive part of that issue because it's all about Batman having flashbacks to how his father was cheating on his mother before they died.
What is this, DC After Dark?
I know. It's ridiculous. Anyway. But no, Mike, you intrigued me. Like you said, you had a theory about Melchizedek.
Oh yeah. That's why I brought up the eternity in their hearts, because I don't believe that, you know, when Abram was walking the earth, there was no one else on earth who knew who the one true God was.
Yeah.
Right? There were, and obviously, as long as Melchizedek isn't literally a Christophany, he was one of those people from one of those places that was teaching who the one true God really was. I mean, the absolute revelation came through Moses and the prophets, but there was a time where everyone knew the truth, right? After Noah, I mean, Noah taught all of his children. His children taught all of their children. It got lost somewhere around the way, but there was a time where everyone on earth knew the absolute truth, and some of those people held on to that as long as they could. And my theory on Melchizedek is there were some people that held on to it very well. You know?
Yeah.
So that's my theory on Melchizedek, and he was a priest and a king, and he had an order that did go back to the very foundations that Noah and Ham, Shem, and Japheth would have taught their children, and they would have taught their children.
Well, presumptively, there was quite a bit of oral knowledge, at least for some number of generations, that would have descended through Noah. Because I mean, Adam walked with a manifestation of God and talked in the Garden of Eden, and presumably they talked about something more than the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you go to the timeline, I'm fairly certain that Noah was alive still when Abram was alive.
I never thought of that, huh?
So maybe the order of Melchizedek was Noah's church.
Interesting.
Who knows, right? You know, I'm sure Noah didn't get to the end of his life and change his faith.
Yeah.
He was probably still preaching and teaching.
Yeah.
Did you miss a super chat? Let's see.
Yeah.
You picked up Dillard. Get some sleeves or get some gains.
Yeah, thanks for repeating that one.
And then Bagel Goose, more money for the sleeve fund.
Yeah.
And then
more money for the sleeve fund? What? He didn't say that, did he?
Yeah, more money for the sleeve fund. Super chat. Mike needs to buy some sleeves. I don't think we missed it.
No, that's not too much. It's all right. It's 1:22. My kids are still in there playing Monopoly.
Like the physical copy?
Yeah.
Nice.
They have this one that's got a little calculator with it. So everybody gets a credit card instead of having to dole out the dollars. And so you just put your thing in, you say how much you have to spend, and you take it out, and you take the other person's and you put it in. It's like Makes it much faster.
Oh yeah.
Dale Stafford says he looks like Flash Gordon. He'll save every one of us. Dive.
Do you guys
Flash Gordon in years?
Yeah. Do you guys recognize the name Rob Pratt? He's an animator for Disney. He's got a YouTube channel that's really cool.
I do recognize the name. I'm not sure though.
He does these 2D animations. You can look up his channel, just Rob Pratt, and he did a Superman classic, which is all 2D animation, and he got one of the guys who played Superboy on the television show to come in and voice Superman, but he did a Flash Gordon one as well, which was so cool that you crave like an actual animated film like that. It's so great. It's classic Flash too.
I love 2D animation. It's so sad that when Disney decided not to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Let's see. Bagel Goose for $2. Keep the sleeves separate though. 2 different tops. Some clip-on sleeves. There you go.
Just for the tearaway when the moment's right.
So what do you think about my Melchizedek theory?
Yeah, I think if it's not a Christophany, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't think people think about that timeline too much. They just it seems like they think the whole world had gone to hell by the time Abram was around, but it's like I don't think so. I mean, you know, you had people. I think it was like in, gosh, was it like New Guinea or something that were their ancient legends had or their ancient religion had the scapegoat, right?
Oh yeah,
Is a Jewish tradition of you offer the one goat, and you lay all the sins on the one goat, and then you essentially pardon the other goat, and that's the scapegoat. And yeah, it's a lot of stuff like that. I wish I could find that book. I had it somewhere, but it's got a lot of good stuff. You guys are you familiar with the Genesis in the Chinese language?
No.
No? Let me see if I can find a website that has this info. This is going to trip you out.
Well, while you're looking for that, it's the same thing essentially with the wise men. You know, these wise men from the East who are not, you know, Jewish or Israelites or anything like that, and yet reading the stars, you know, with some kind of knowledge, and the stars somehow tell them that this Messiah of the world is going to be born. That's always fascinated me.
Yeah, there's some who speculate that those are they're like priests from, or not priests, but I'm trying to remember, like some sort of an offshoot of Daniel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like Daniel, you know, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, all that stuff. That's where that knowledge came from. And so, you know, obviously generations later, they were still Genesis.
Well, now along with that, where Abraham meets Melchizedek, right? You come forward 2,000 years or so. Don't quote me on the exact math. And then I'm in the book of John 8, and he said, "Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day. He saw it and was glad."
Yeah. All right, let me see. So let me give you a little advance here. So the Chinese language is the oldest written language on Earth. It goes back 4,500 years. Essentially goes back to Babel, right? So consider you're a group of people, none of whom understand one another. And so what you're trying to do is create a written language so that you can understand, and then ultimately create I think the written language probably came first. and then create a language that everyone can agree upon. What you do is you say, okay, here's a brush or whatever. I'm going to draw a picture of a man, right? Legs, arms. So everyone will know that's a man. I'm going to draw, you know, so they'll, oh no, actually man was, they draw a picture of a mouth, basically, for a man. Like trees, look like trees. They draw pictographs. It's the basic building blocks of the Chinese language are pictographs, right? But
Sure.
How do you get to a word like sin or create? You have to use common understandings. You have to use common stories that everybody understands to get to these kind of concepts rather than physical things. So if you take a man and dust and living, so living dust plus man, I don't quite understand this one, but that gets to talk. You add talking and walking, and that is creation, right? I mean, that's just an example. But it does go along with Genesis. This isn't the best one for me. But dust, breath. See that the square is for breath, which also means man, because it's like, you know, men breathe. So you'll see this very common. So dust, breath, enclosure, person, and a different person, and you get garden.
Oh.
Right?
Oh.
A boat is a vessel with 8 people. Right? What vessel had 8 people in Genesis?
Okay, yeah.
Right? A flood, let's see, together plus the earth, or plus earth plus 8 is total. What does that say? Water? Total water together is flood. So together, earth 8. So the 8 people together on the earth, the 8 people on earth left on earth together is the total of the human race. Add water to that, and that's your flood, right? I mean,
wow.
It gets a little bit esoteric, but there's no other way that you could get to flood using 8 earthen together unless you understand Genesis, right? There's another one. The one that really blows me away is freaking. Where is it? I guess maybe they don't have it on this page. Is like temptation is like a snake or a serpent, a woman, and a tree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of these. I have a whole book on this stuff. I don't know. I don't want to flip through this website because. But yeah, if you have time, you should go check into that. I have a book. It's called Genesis in the Chinese Language, and it's got a whole bunch of stuff like that. Really, really interesting stuff. So
you have got a super chat from the young Darth Vader. This is California. $6.99. I imagine that's Canadian money. Didn't catch it live. Just finished your show with Quinn and John. It was a really fun discussion to listen to. Looking forward to being in the chat for more.
Right on, young Darth Vader. Yeah, so we're gonna try to do that a little earlier next week. I guess it was a little late. We had another guest, that gray area. She's also got like 80 or 90,000 subs, and so with her and Quinn, it should be a really cool show. But she fell asleep.
Oh no!
She was so apologetic. She's like, "Man, I had all these notes from the show, and I was all ready." I'm like, Like you were the most prepared out of all of us, and you fell asleep. You gotta show up, man. You gotta show up.
Let's see,
You've inspired me to. Oh, go ahead, Edwin.
I was going to say, Dennis Peruk says to please warn us when you do the Lone Star call out. My little dog is asleep over there on the bed. It's 10:33 in Hawaii, so we might have to forgo the call out of the Lone Star Squadron. I don't want to scare the little girl.
Aww. I was going to say, Mike, you inspired me to go ahead and start reading Game of Thrones because I've never read or watched or anything. So
really?
And then the longer you waited, it just seemed like it kept piling up, and it's just this unsurmountable monster now.
Have you started?
No, but I'm going to.
Oh, okay.
Your turn to that kind of content has.
The writing is so good.
Cool.
As Edwin can attest, he read off quite a bit of the first chapter.
Yeah, we read the prologue the other day. Yeah, it's fairly solid, right? Yeah.
Nice. I have a long commute, so I love audiobooks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the legality of reading stuff out. I think even if it's performative, there may be a limit that you can do unless there's also commentary and such.
Mm. Yeah, I'm really confused what the rules are on freaking YouTube, frankly. Because I see other people doing stuff all the time that I would suspect would be, copyright strikes. But it's up there, so I don't know. It doesn't seem clear to me. Maybe they just have friends in high places or something.
I'm still waiting to get monetized.
Oh, really?
Still 3 months now. 3 months and counting. Still. It says I'm in review, but I've been in review for like a month.
Oh, man.
It's not like I don't put out videos every single day practically, so who knows? I tend to slam DC Comics a lot lately, so I know that, Dan Didio has a brother-in-law and it works at YouTube or something. That's my thought.
It's always possible. It's always possible.
They were it was interesting. I haven't been following the Kavanaugh stuff real closely. I just haven't had time this week, and it's actually now trying to get news out of news is actually a task because you're trying to sort out. Nobody actually says, okay, this is what happened, and then this happened, and this happened. It's everybody's opinion and snark and all that. But I started looking. I was just curious because I've kind of been tracking Marvel, and most of their writers and editors, as far as I can see, are all either progressive to left leaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just curious to see if there would be any reflection of that with their comments on Kavanaugh, and sure enough, you could see where people weighed in at, and that was interesting to see. It looks like people's opinions on Kavanaugh kind of cleave pretty cleanly along political lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and these are the same people who didn't believe Juanita Broderick. Honestly, even if I thought it was true, which I don't, because this is what they do to conservatives every single freaking time. They just drag somebody up to claim sexual whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember who was the guy with the 999 plan?
Yeah. That is Ben Carson. No,
the Papa John's guy.
Yeah, hang on one second. Lord Asserman for $5 greenbacks, if you will. Can we talk about the horror of Tim Lim's madness as he draws Comicsgate figures as attractive females? Like you guys, but I don't want to see you with boobs.
What is happening?
Law. Oh, you didn't see that? Oh, and somebody from Chance says Herman Cain.
Herman Cain, yeah. So do you remember how when Herman Cain looked like he was getting some traction in the presidential election, a bevy of young ladies came out saying that he had whatever advanced at them or whatever. I can't even remember what all the accusations were. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember how they all disappeared into the ether after he dropped out of the race?
Yep.
That's what it is. That's what they do to conservatives. They find somebody. And for this person, Kavanaugh, they found somebody to accuse him of getting handsy at a freaking drunken party when he's 17 years old. He's 53. He was a drunk 17-year-old kid. So even if I believed her, which I don't because of all the witnesses she called forward to ask, none of them could corroborate her story. It's a drunk 17-year-old boy at a party. How many times have you tried to get with a girl? Well, I don't know your story, but I tried to get with girls. That's what drunk 17-year-old kids do. So I don't understand how this is like you're sitting there saying, well, we need to make sure that this person is going to be able to do his job. It's like, what in the great gobbledygook of crap are you talking about? What does him being drunk at a party when he's 17 have to do with his ability to adjudicate law in 2018? So it's just, to me, the whole thing is just dumb and just
Play them sound bites of the old Clinton era where the left's mantra was character doesn't matter. It's how they do their job.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like Juanita Broderick is like a million times more credible than this Ford lady, and they just completely ignored her, all up and down the freaking media. So they're so obviously hypocritical. Why is Tim doing this?
I don't know. So he did one of me, I guess.
That's great.
Yeah, got it locked on.
And then let's see, he did a couple more.
I did see the Cecil one. I did not know who drew it.
Is it in the same thread?
I don't know.
Well, hang on. Let me go to Tim's.
I see Zach, Diversity in Comics, Cecil, and Edwin.
Oh, here, Durakin says, even if what she claims Kavanaugh did isn't illegal, even if it was, it's past the statute of limitations. So dumb. Not only that, but say he had done something illegal and he was arrested and convicted as a minor, it would have been sealed when he turned 18. It would be inadmissible in court.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good point. Yeah.
All right, so this is the Cecil one. And then Zach at.
It was a bad idea.
Yeah, so I guess Tim woke up this morning, chugged some crazy sauce, and had a sense of humor going. So.
I love how he's got you, Edwin, though, holding the camera like you do for your videos, and smiling into it like that.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. It's good stuff. And what did I say earlier? I said R.I.P. dignity. I didn't need that dignity.
What is this dignity you speak of?
Yeah, it's overrated.
That's awesome. That, and who's the guy that does all of the heads on he does a lot of stuff for Ethan. I can think of his name, Chris something or another. He does a lot of people in the Comicsgate debates and everything, parodies of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
your son's video too was awesome, Mike.
No, I'll tell him.
He's pretty hard on you, though.
You see that, Edwin? Yeah, well, he pulls no punches.
Oh, Sierra Whiskey says Mike traded in his dignity when he sold his sleeves for paper money.
Ouch.
Sold my sleeves for cryptocurrency. Yeah.
And I still haven't really formed a discrete opinion on Kavanaugh. Again, it seems like there's so much noise, but this process all seems like political theater.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Did you see Sheila Jackson Lee handing the lawyer an envelope, like trying to do it under the table?
Yeah, my wife mentioned something about that to me.
I mean, she's like handing it down as low as she possibly can. It's like, dude, you're on camera, knucklehead.
I find politics to be a lot like pro wrestling. Like it's all fake, it's all orchestrated. Nothing that they say actually means what they say it means, and yet these throngs of people just take it so seriously and believe it. You know?
Yeah.
Whether, if you think about the political economy, like the amount of news or punditry, journalism, and so forth, that the amount of people that make their living off discussing this stuff and propagating this political theater. You think if you make your grift, your graft, or your cheddar off of talking about politics, writing about politics, pontificating about politics, you need it to be salacious and juicy and emotional.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause it ain't like anybody's tuning in to hear about like bond policy, aside from you know what I mean. Aside
Yeah.
from maybe a couple of people,
And they're just watching C-SPAN anyways.
and anybody who's turning into Fox or tuning into Fox or MSNBC on either side of the spectrum, you know, they're not tuning in to listen to like a 5-hour dissertation on a fine point of constitutional law and interpretation, right? They want to hear that somebody sucks and somebody is good, and that their guys are the right guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like dissertations.
but a lot of it feels real exploitative in some ways.
Yeah, my favorite shows, and I really bummed out when Combs left Hannity and Combs because that was my favorite stuff. When I was a kid, when I paid attention to politics, freaking not hardball, Crossfire was my favorite show on news because it was like you had people on both sides politely arguing their points with one another. You know, that's why I liked Politically Incorrect before Bill Maher, lost his mind. And that's why I liked Hannity and Combs because, honestly, when it became just Hannity, I stopped watching it.
Well, yeah, because it kind of, I don't know. Again, it all becomes sort of this. Let's work you up into a state of emotional excitation. Now, is that state of emotional excitation good for making decisions?
Mm-hmm.
And for most of us, what decisions can we actually make? Right. So, once every 2 years, you get to vote. If you are particularly motivated, you can join some sort of political advocacy group or some sort of civic group, or you can join one of the political parties and become involved with that particular process to try and select the people who will select the people who run for office, right? But that's not 99%. 99% of Americans, if they're lucky, show up every 2 years and vote. And that is the extent of their political participation, other than repeating poorly what they've consumed
on Comedy Central.
Comedy Central, or from television, or from any particular periodical. Even if it's positions I agree with, most people don't actually give it a lot of thought.
Yeah.
And they're engaged in much more faith than they believe they believe they are, because they have no independent way of verifying much of this information. And trust in most media has been absolutely destroyed. I mean, at this point, if you trust anything you're being told by most of these people, on what basis?
Yeah.
Hey, Edwin, catch this super chat real quick. I'm gonna go wash my hands.
Okay, very good. I love it. Love it. John Dillard gaming the system. I snuck to TV room late to watch Wally George. Who's Wally George? I snuck to TV room late to watch Wally George. I have to look that up. Let me write this down. Wally
I don't
George.
get that one either.
Yeah. John Dillard, what is that reference? Explain that Wally George, if you would.
Politics seems to me like it's kind of like when you argue theology with people. There's
Right.
there's a Baptist version of an issue. There's an Episcopal version of an issue, and there, so politics is the same way, where you can't really discuss an issue because everybody's going to run to their manufactured interpretation from their side, and that's just all they're going to beat at you. No one really wants to dissect them and take the time or have the courage to maybe even question their own explanations or their own side's explanations to see if it holds water.
Yeah. People are looking to either cheer for their team or BTFO someone, or just argue or repeat whatever one-liner they picked up today from some particular source. Somebody wants to paraphrase Hannity or Maddow or Bill Maher or whatever they heard from Colbert back at you.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody today, and I had posted I'd posted like 8 examples of like where Marvel writers or editors were posting about Kavanaugh. There was, what is the one lady's name? Kelly Sue.
Iconic.
Yeah, Badonkadonk. Kelly Sue Badonkadonk. And she had gone like
Badonkadonk is, right?
Yeah, I do. Anyway, Miss Kelly Sue had posted that essentially F.U. Lindsey Graham, or not? Yeah. F.U. Lindsey. Yeah, she was real kind of nasty with it.
Because he called them out on their BS.
So I took a screenshot of that, and I just posted it right on right on Marvel Entertainment. Twitter post where they were advertising the new Jessica Jones book by Kelly Sue, because why not?
That's awesome.
There you go.
But my
attention.
And yeah, it's just a strange place, because everyone in Marvel has this one particular voice now, and that just can't be good. Even if they all agreed with me, it couldn't be good, just because it's become such a narrow lens. And comics should be for everyone, not just moderately conservative 45-year-olds. It should be for everyone.
Can I get this super chat? You want me to do it?
Yeah, let me go back. I'll catch it. Let's see. Was this the $5 one? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. This is $5 from Z Ryan. I just turned on Mike's Game of Thrones stream. Edwin, I told you Quinn would be good to us. He came on. Got to listen to it now. All right.
Did he tell you so, Edwin?
If he told me so, he must have told me so. Step 1, was somebody told?
Yeah, Quinn's fun. Man, we really got into it. I don't know if anybody, did you watch it, Geek?
No, I missed that.
Yeah, I was on earlier tonight. And yeah, there was, because I can talk Game of Thrones all night, and he could too. I cut it off after an hour just because there were so few live people watching.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta get some work done anyways. But I don't know. Next week I'm gonna start it a little earlier. Try to get the gray area in there too, or not gray area, gray. Oh my gosh, I keep forgetting. Gray area, yeah.
I feel like I should avoid them though until I read the books, right? Spoilers.
Oh, we do talk spoilers, yes.
Yeah. So.
But they're the kind of spoilers that you're going to completely forget about because there's the books are about 1,000 to 1,200 pages each. So by the time you get to the last one where we're spoiling stuff, you're going to have completely forgotten about it.
I'm finishing up Peter Straub's Ghost Story right now. I can't believe I've never read that. It's amazing. Have either of you read that one?
No.
Really, really fascinating. Like a late 70s horror kind of Halloween-like novel.
Yeah, I remember the movie.
Yeah. Fred Astaire in the movie and everything. Yeah, the novel is just blowing me away though. It's very literary. So I need to finish that up and then I'll start the Game of Thrones books.
Right on. Edwin, I think this one's for you.
Let's see. Hang on a second. Let me fix this up here. Sometimes when I click on a super chat and the interface gets a little wonky. Z Ryan, we talked DMs on Twitter, Edwin. Let's see. I think we did. Let me see. Let me go. But yeah, I do not question. You probably, because Mike's chat has some pretty savvy people. So you probably, I do remember a conversation where someone told me, yeah, these people are going to come seeking it out now that Mike's talking about Game of Thrones. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
He said he's last week, he was just in the chat and he said that someone had suggested that he come check it out when it was on live. And so he came in the chat and I'm like, oh, hey, ideas, come on. And he did. So now he's apparently going to be regular.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if there's some way we can work it out like together, someone to get his fans and Gray Area's fans, because they each have about 90,000 subs. And if we can get those fans into this space, or a percentage of them into this space, then yeah, we could build this out.
Oh yeah. Didn't somebody say you had Peter Dinklage in your chat or something like that on the other day?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I thought I saw somebody say that in one of the DM groups or something.
Peter Dinklage. Ryan for $2. Amen, Edwin. Have you guys seen that video? That song? Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage. It does the whole song, like just saying Peter Dinklage the whole time.
I still think about him in the Elf video.
Oh yeah.
Or the Elf movie. Let me know if you're feeling strong.
He's done so many great things.
Yeah, I love the fact that he never takes roles that rely. I mean, obviously in Elf that's kind of straddling the line, but he wouldn't take roles that are the typical roles that little people are forced to take in Hollywood. You know?
Unless they have substance to them.
Yeah.
I remember he was in Prince Caspian as one of the dwarves. It was a great role.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, he was the DLF, the dear little friend. And they explain it to him and he says, well, that's not what does he say? That's not patronizing at all or something like that.
I could hear him say it with his little fake English accent. He does have the worst English accent in Game of Thrones. But somehow he gets away with it.
And the pimp hand slap on Prince Joffrey is always entertaining. Malin is rather perverse. He's on Team Joffrey.
I heard that. I've heard him say that.
Yeah. Have you've seen some of the actual videos though? Yeah, Geek. Some of the Game of Thrones television series.
Never a full episode, but like I know little things about the culture. So like I know that Joffrey is the child who everybody hates, you know, and I know that Jon Snow is like the Christ figure, but that's really about the extent of my knowledge. I don't really know much about it at all. I'm looking forward to breaking into it.
Oh yeah, you're gonna do a whole new set of videos.
Yeah,
It's good stuff, man.
I would start with the books. I don't know if I would get into the I don't know if I'd get into the videos. Reading the book seems to be superior to the television show.
Yeah. Books first. That's a good rule.
Yeah.
I do agree.
Though Selmy is still my boy. Even now, I would cut through the 5 of you like a man cuts through cake.
Nice.
It's Barristan Selmy from. You'll get to know him.
Yeah.
I'm laughing at the chat. Iwazuru says, Prof Geek's voice not coming from a drawing is highly disturbing.
Oh, too much humanity. Too much humanity.
Sorry, Iwazuru. I'll go back to my avatar. I get recommended so many great things though on my channel from listeners. I finally broke into My Hero Academia. I started watching the series and I'm a few episodes in, and I'm so incredibly glad that they recommended it because it's really something. I'll have to talk about that on tomorrow's live stream. Have either of you watched that or any of the anime stuff? I'm not very anime literate.
My kids have been watching
Anime.
My kids have been watching Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I heard that was good.
You don't like it anymore? Why?
It feels so weird.
It feels so weird. All right.
Boom! I need like ultimate power.
Isaac, did you lose at Monopoly? Is that why you're in here? Well, it's
Guess what? I landed
Guess what?
on Elijah's 4 properties, and then he took all my properties.
That's how you play Monopoly. And it's 2 o'clock in the morning, so why don't you go to bed?
So what?
Did anybody actually lose, or like every time I played Monopoly, it's essentially who has the most endurance?
No.
I lost everything.
Yeah, we play until I win.
Let's see.
When I play. You don't like playing with me.
Somebody reflected me. Let's see. Jay Patrick. I guess I don't know if this is Pote or Pote. Eddard is still my favorite character. He was mine too, and then they did that bit in the Tower of Joy. I'm still processing that, but yeah, Eddard was absolutely one of my favorite characters. As you'll see as you begin to read the books, the Game of Thrones books, the good tend to die young.
Yeah.
What did you not like about the Tower of Joy scene with Eddard?
Well, I haven't read the scene in the book. I haven't gotten much past the prologue. I just haven't had time yet. But there's a difference in the way he tells the story to his in the television show. The way he has told the story to his children differs from the way the story actually happens when they flash back, or when there's some timey-wimey shenanigans and someone is using arcane powers to view the events that happened at the Tower of Joy.
Trying to remember what he told his children.
Well, I think he tells his children that he defeats this particular fearsome knight, and I cannot remember the knight's name. Apparently, yeah, because this knight at the time in the mythos is, I guess, the deadliest man on the face of in the realm. Yeah,
he was the head of the King's Guard.
Yeah, And so the way that particular fight plays out is perhaps less honorable than Eddard portrays it to his children.
Oh, something I don't even know if it's in the books, but something George told me is that Jaime Lannister actually models himself after Sir Arthur Dayne.
Oh, interesting.
Oh,
yeah, because I accidentally drew Arthur Dayne with a beard on the cover of an issue, and he's like, and it published that way with him with the beard, and he's like, no, Arthur Dayne is clean shaven. That's why Jaime is clean shaven, because he models himself after Arthur Dayne. I don't think it's in the books. That's just a little bit of knowledge from George to me to you.
those are the kind of nuggets you get on Blacklist Universe.
Yeah, right.
So subscribe and tell your friends.
Yeah, but it's interesting. There's some Arthurian stuff in there, and there is very few honorable characters in Game of Thrones. Very few moral characters. Who would be the moral characters? Eddard
and Jon and Robb. Well, the Starks in general.
The Starks in general.
Sansa's too weak-willed. No, I mean, that's you're not actually right.
Well, there's some flawed. There's some flawed characters like the Hound.
Yeah, I mean, he's in service to a king.
Bronn is interesting.
Bronn is a sellsword, and in every way that means sellsword. Yeah. But no, you've got the Lannisters, who are all in all just a horrible group of people. The Starks are all in all a very honorable group of people. You've got a bunch of the guys, maybe not a bunch, but you've got several of the guys in the Night's Watch who are very honorable people.
Yep.
Even if they do come to loggerheads over what they consider to be honorable.
Right. Sure.
Right. You've got the Ironborn, who have their own sense of what is honorable, even though it's not what I would consider honorable.
And we're using the word honorable kind of interchangeably here with moral, I think.
Okay.
Or consistent, or morally consistent.
Right. See, I was not, because like the Ironborn, they have their own code of ethics.
Yeah. And
it's a code of ethics that it's more like Vikings. Like Vikings would have a code of ethics that don't give a damn about anybody but Vikings.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right? So in that sense, they are honorable by their own code of ethics. But yeah, as far as just purely moral people, the Starks, for the most part.
Who's the... her name escapes me for a moment. The blonde warrior woman.
Brienne of Tarth. She is.
Brienne of Tarth.
She is. Yeah. Samwell Tarly is as well.
Yeah.
Even though he's a coward, but that's fine. That's just part of his character.
He's almost like a Robin Hood kind of character, though.
Samwell?
Yeah, a little bit of that old kind of. I don't mean literally like Robin Hood. I mean from the story of Robin Hood.
You mean like Friar Tuck?
He almost feels like one of those old. He's not quite the trickster. He's kind of like this hapless character that still manages to influence events and survive all these crazy occurrences. Yeah.
He does become more important as the story goes on.
See, I'm trying to think of who else would Professor Geek. Professor Geek, you'll have to watch for the Hound character, though. The Hound is a very interesting character.
The Hound character, okay.
Well, what George likes to do is, I think aside from the Starks, in a lot of cases, so the books are written from a series of people's perspectives, right? So when you're reading the first couple of books, you're viewing certain characters from only the perspective of people who have antipathy towards them. And so as you're reading them, you gain this antipathy and in some cases outright hatred for these various characters. And then like in book 3 and 4, he starts showing their perspectives. And whereas it doesn't necessarily excuse all of the bad things that people hate them for, it explains them in a way, and it explains why they're, in some cases, are trying to be better than the things they've done as people. You know, there is an honor in trying to become better than your past. You know, try to make amends for the things you're most known for doing. You know, which had gone against your own code of ethics. One of the characters is a king's guard, and he kills the king he's supposed to be guarding for his house, for his family, for his father, but it went against everything he'd ever believed in. And then he's labeled as the Kingslayer for the rest of his life. So yeah, stuff like that. I mean, George is really good at flipping the script on you on a character after.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
I look forward to breaking into it. I'll let you guys know what I think.
He likes to say, "I like characters that live in a world of gray."
See, that's interesting because I usually need some solid good guys in the stories that I enjoy and read. But
there are solid good guys.
Okay,
but,
cool.
But there are also there's everything, you know.
Yeah,
there is everything. So
cool.
And the solid good guys do take a licking.
the solid most of the solid good guys come from the Stork family. But then the Selmy character I did, you know, is pretty solid good guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Barristan Selmy is freaking straight as a board, man.
Brienne of Tarth. And then the Hound in a very flawed way. And well, not flawed, that's not the right word. The Hound is like one of the most physically imposing characters in the book, right?
But he's the little brother
of the most physically imposing.
Mountain that rides. That's what they call him, the mountain that rides.
But the Hound, and I don't think I spoil anything here, the Hound refuses titles, even though he's essentially almost peerless. Just a handful of people who could directly physically oppose him, and he is, you know, he's at a fairly influential person in the scheme of the story, but he refuses titles and so forth because he, and without spoilers, you know, just when he looks around or examines these people that have taken these titles and so forth, he can't see that the title reflects any particular nobility of spirit or honor or any particular virtue.
Yeah, he doesn't even want to be a knight.
Yeah.
Joseph Meager says it's the Dune ripoff. That's speaking my language, Dune. I love that.
That's Edwin's favorite book.
Yeah, you like Dune too, Edwin?
Yeah, I like Dune too. And so, okay, all right. So speaking of Doom ripoffs, the Mentats in Game of Thrones are called Meisters.
Oh, okay, cool.
Or Maesters, yeah. So there is
human computers.
Well, more or less. I mean, a Meister could be just like a professor or an academic like yourself, but they can also be people who are in possession of fairly occult or arcane knowledge. Okay. Is that accurate, Mike?
Well, they can be, I guess. The thing is, a Maester wears a chain around his neck. Each link is made of a different metal, and they're like, this is how their graduation from becoming a master of an individual. It's like getting a PhD, you know. Here's your PhD. It's a link. You add it to your chain, and they spend their entire lives learning and studying these things to acquire more and more of these links. So, ultimately, they're about learning as much as possible, and then those who betray that cause get kicked out of the Citadel and go off and make zombie men. I'm not going to things.
It sounds like I got a lot to catch up on. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's fun. And so far, like I say, I haven't got deep into the book yet, but the writing for the most part is better than the seems to be better than the show.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
It is
Well, guys, I just realized.
It is by will alone that I set my mind in motion. It is by the juice of Safu that thoughts acquire speed. The lips acquire stains. The stains become a warning. It is by will alone that I set my mind in motion, which doesn't actually appear in the book.
Nice. I was just going to say, I just realized it's 5:15 a.m. over here on the East Coast. So,
dude,
I guess I should probably sleep at some point.
Why are you up so late, man?
This is my schedule. I usually go to sleep between 5 and 6 a.m. and catch
really?
naps during the day. Yeah, my daughter has a weird sleep schedule too that we just accommodate. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for popping in, brother.
Yeah, no, thanks. I really appreciate it. I'm glad I got to come and hang out with you guys. It had been a little while, so good to hear you too, Edwin, and chat with you a bit. And definitely, Mike, I'll get you to come over to my channel for October. So, one of these weeks, I'm going to do a vampire week or an archetype that'll encompass that. So you have to come on over and talk Lone Star.
Right on. Well, shout out your info so everyone knows where to follow.
Oh yeah.
Just
link them.
Yeah. Oh well, thanks. Yeah. Professor Geek, very easy to find. You search Professor Geek at YouTube, and you'll see my avatar there that people apparently prefer to my face. But find there at Michael Kreitzer on YouTube. I mean on Twitter. But got some good stuff in store and some of my own projects pretty soon that I'll be able to talk about. So come on over, and Mike will be there soon. Have to get you on the channel too, Edwin, at some point.
Yeah, that would be real fun.
Definitely. Well, you guys have a good night.
You too, man. Thanks for coming.
Catch you later. Bye.
Edwin, isn't this a little late for you too?
It is. I'm just about out of gas, to be honest. I even took a nap. Yeah, this week really caught up with me, man. I've just been on the grind.
Where were you at today?
I feel like I was on the road all day. I had to go take one of my foremen out to walk a job that we're getting ready to start at a community college, and then I had to go to another large kind of complex job we're doing at a mall and look at some different change order tasks. Change order is like, all right, so we get our contract, right? And it's got specific things that we have to do, like knock down this wall, take down the ceiling. And then change order is like additional tasks that come up that have to be done. And so we were sorting through all this change order stuff. And when a job stretches on for a year, it gets hard to track all these different things.
Is this still Victoria's Secret?
No. This is a particular one. We do a lot of work at the different malls, and we're like cutting like big old holes in parking decks and taking down crazy walls and stuff. Yeah, and so yeah, you'd be surprised like how often, well, at least here in Hawaii, like some of these high-end stores, they get demoed out once every couple of years. I'm talking about like the big name brands like Armani and Harry Winston, like these luxury brands. These stores get refreshed, every probably every 4 to 6 years. I mean, they don't go much beyond that because all the tourism here, some of these stores are like showcases. So somebody might come.
I mean, I freaking go down Waikiki. It looks like Beverly Hills.
Yeah, it is. It's
crazy.
Yeah. And so people may not buy something there, but they might get exposed to it there and then go back and become like a lifelong customer because, people are on vacation, and so their perceptions of everything are kind of amplified in a positive direction. Yeah.
I just figured it was all the Japanese tourists dropping millions of yen.
That's part of it. That's part of it. Getting them yen. Got a yen for that yen.
That yen, baby. I do accept yen super chats.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, if you gotta taper off here, I understand. I'm probably gonna wrap this up too. It's 2:18 here, so.
Yeah. I'll probably see you tomorrow, man.
All right, brother.
All right. Good night. Aloha,
right.
Chip.
Oh yeah, do your bon voyage.
Yeah. And this is man. This is probably the very gentle version one. The events of the day, the messages that people are trying to project onto you.
Oh my gosh, dude, we didn't even talk about Ren.
It is rarely in your best interest to be in a heightened emotional state, spun up worrying about someone else's conflict, someone else's problem, which they then suggest that you need to tune in to find out their particular solutions to it. I'm talking about all these various news outlets and stuff. Much of what we call news these days isn't, right? Because there's no discernible action that you can take over it. And so if it's time to get excited about something, or to get passionate about something, or to get angry about it, as we can read in Ecclesiastes, there is a season for everything. I do not know. In fact, I do know that it is never the season to be in a state of emotional distress and anger 24/7, all day, every day. You are not served well by this. And so anyone who wants you to stay in that state is not your friend, is not your ally, does not have your best interest at heart, right? And so think about the way you move through the world, the things you consume, and how the news you consume and the people you consume benefits you or does not benefit you. You were not meant to be a scurrysome creature. You were made in the image of your Creator, and you have inherent value. You have inherent value, and you should recognize you have that value and treat yourself as such. Respect yourself and the people around you. Anyway, until we meet again, I'm going to say good night and aloha to you, and I hope you have a fantastic evening and a wonderful morning. Mike, I'll see you soon.
All right, buddy. Aloha, everybody, and please do go check out. Oh wait, like, subscribe. You know the drill. Hit that bell for notifications because a lot of people are not getting their notifications for some reason. YouTube. And please do check out LoneStarComic.com if you have not already, and pop around my page. Check out some of my other videos. Thanks for being here. Appreciate every single one of you, and we will see you tomorrow.